Hello and welcome to episode number 5 of the Free Your Mind podcast. So today I want to talk to you about, unfortunately I want to talk to you about Corona or COVID-19. Not for all the reasons that I imagine other people are talking about it, but more because from what I'm seeing, it's like there are some people that are struggling. I think everyone on some level is struggling. Everyone on some level is having ups and downs, having days, where they feel like they can't be arsed and days where they actually feel okay, And the more this goes on, the more the brain starts to normalize things. It's amazing how quickly the brain normalizes everything. Like the new house becomes the house. The new car just becomes the car, I can't even remember what the gym feels. I don't really miss the gym anymore because I can't remember what it even feels like to be there. It just feels normal now to train outside or in the living room or, wherever. And it's fascinating to observe. And that's why often we will find ourselves in jobs we don't really like, or our businesses we're not enjoying anymore, or relationships that, quite frankly, a bit shit. And we don't do anything about it because we forgot, because we don't even notice anymore, or we don't appreciate the things we've got because we've made them normal, we've normalized them. Now, what I'm finding fascinating is during this time, from what I'm seeing from my clients, certainly, and from my own experience to a certain extent, is it's like the pause button has been hit and we can sit back and look outwardly, from a 30,000 foot view at our life. We can stop and reflect. And if you're always on the go and you're constantly on the go, you can stop and sit back and go, what was working, what isn't? What do I see now that I wasn't seeing? What looks different now I've stopped? Now, for some people, they're hating it, and they do just want to get back at it as soon as possible. And they're drinking and other addictions are coming in or whatever as a way of kind of sedating themselves from engaging with life as it currently is. But for the most part, what I'm seeing is people they're doing things, they're spending time with their kids, their family, going for walks, training, having more time. And they're saying to me that I want to bring some of this into my life. I don't want to go back to normal because actually stood here now, normal wasn't really working for me without me even knowing. Now, how this relates to what I want to talk about today is I don't know if this is true, but I've heard it enough times to think that it might be. Anyway, the story goes like this. Apparently, if you put a frog in water, and I don't advise this, by the way, but if you put a frog in water, and if you gradually increase the temperature by like 1 degree at a time, eventually the frog will boil to death because it doesn't notice and it doesn't occur to it to jump out. Obviously, if another frog comes along, dips his toe in, goes, yeah, that's fucking hot, I'm not getting in there. And what I see is often we're quite often boiling alive in our own thinking, boiling alive in our own lives, but we're so used to it that we don't notice. We're so used to overthinking, or we're so used to the pressure, or we're so used to the stress, or we're so used to living life the way we do that we don't even notice anymore that it's a problem. I have clients come to me that they're so stressed that they don't even think they are stressed anymore because it's just become their normal. They don't know what it feels like to be anything but stressed, or, they don't know what it feels like to be able to sleep at night or not need alcohol at the weekend in order to kind of sedate their thinking or slow their thinking down. It's like we're quite literally often boiling alive in our own lives, boiling alive in our own thinking, and we don't know it. We're the frog in the water that doesn't know it. If someone else stepped into your life, they'd be like, what the fuck, Or sometimes I'm looking at my clients' lives like, what? How are you alive? How are you still doing this? How are you working that much or performing at that capacity? Or how are you still struggling with those same thought processes or habits or for so long? Because again, it's obvious to me looking outwards in. That's why we can give other people such good advice, but we fail to see it for ourselves. Because obviously when we talk to someone else, we look at their pot of boiling water and we're like, can you not see that? Get out. What's going on here? Turn it down or do something. But they don't see it because to them that's normal, and you get my point here. So it's just really fascinating that I guess not only does this period allow that for some people. Ultimately, I mean, in many ways, this is my job. This is why I do videos. This is why I'm on the phone to clients. This is why I do this podcast, because all I'm ever really trying to do is get you to just step out of the water for a second. Just stop for a second. Just slow down for a second. Everyone is always rushing, including me, by the way. Again, the reason I can talk about this is because I am this. It still exists for me, and I've seen it. And I still observe the same kind of processes and thinking. I just have now seen enough to know that the way I used to live wasn't very useful. Like everyone's living their life like they're rushing. It's like I'd be the same. Always rushing. Pick up Rosie from gymnastics, forget the water bottle because I'm rushing. Where am I rushing to? Where am I trying to get to? And the same for business and success. It's like, where are you trying to get to? I've got a client who recently sold his business he's got a couple of million in his bank. And I think to his surprise, he doesn't feel safe. He doesn't feel calm. And all of a sudden, there's all this pressure to, how do I protect it? How do I not lose it? How do I turn it into more? How do I use this opportunity? Do I invest here? Do I invest there? Do I invest in this business? Do I invest in stocks? Do I invest in shares? Do I do higher risk or lower risk? Or, what if all the banks go under because of how leveraged they are? And do I lose it? Do I do this? Do I buy gold? Do I fucking buy gold and bury it in the garden? It's amazing because you can tell yourself the story that if you had that much money, if that is a lot to you, or if I think it's a lot to most people, you can tell yourself the story that then you'd be okay. And again, we can do this with anything, the house, the car, the wife, the kids, etc. But the point is, I said to him, like, how much would be enough? How much would you need in order to feel safe? The truth is there isn't an answer to that because there's no numerical value, there's no number, there's no material thing that's ever going to allow you to feel safe. Because it's your thinking that's stopping you from feeling safe. It's your thinking around losing it or panicking or the pressure or the conflict around should I do this or should I do that or should I give loads away or should I not or should I be a tight bastard or should I be generous or should I... It's the conflict, it's the thinking, it's the pressure isn't coming from the money, it isn't coming from the world, it isn't coming from Corona, it's coming from your thoughts and the meaning you're attaching to what you're seeing and experiencing. And that's why this break is quite nice, because you can step back and see that. You can step back out of the boiling pot of water and go, fucking hell, who knew? Who knew I didn't have to boil alive every day? Who knew? So I don't know what my point is here anymore. I'm just talking and enjoying it, and hopefully there's something useful in here. But my main point, if I'm going to make one, is that from time to time it's great to step back and look for something new, look for fresh insight, look for fresh thinking. If you're experiencing the same stress again and again and again, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you that you're the one that's making that happen. You're the one that's keeping it alive. If you're replaying traumatic events from the past doesn't fucking exist. It exists in your mind. You keep thinking about the experience, it will continue to survive. If you're feeling pressure, you're the one putting the pressure on. If you're feeling stress, anger, resentment, any number of negative emotions, and I'm sorry to be the one, or I'm happy to be the one, maybe, to tell you that you're not afraid of what you think you are. You're afraid of what you think. You're not angry at what you think you are. You're angry at what you think. You're not feeling safe because of what you think is causing that feeling. you're not feeling safe because of what you think. That's what happens. Feelings follow thinking. Now, I'm not stupid. I know that when you truly see this, and again, I see it more and more each day, it's not something you just get. You get it today, and then you get it a bit more tomorrow, and then you read another book, and you listen to another podcast, you have another conversation, and you get it a bit more. And then you listen back to this podcast, and you get it more, like I'm saying different words to what I said the first time, but somehow on the second time you've heard something different or something more. And I'm punching my mic. Getting obviously excited over here. This will continue to settle in, and even for me, even though thinking is like the river, it just flows. It flows past. And we attach to certain thoughts and we give them so much attention and energy that before long they form into ice. They form into little chunks of ice that get bigger and bigger and bigger, and we can create icebergs out of these thoughts. And they look real to us. No, there really is ice here. There really is an iceberg. It really isn't flowing. All the ice is now blocking the flow of the river and accumulating all of this stress, or to stick with a metaphor, sticks and gravel and shit. But we forget that ice is made of the same substance as water. The less you give it attention, the less you look in that direction, the less emotion you place on it. Before long, the ice starts to melt. It dissolves back into the river of thinking, and it continues to flow past like it's supposed to in the first place. But from time to time, it really does look real. It's like, yeah, I know that my thoughts create my feeling, and I know that my whole life is experienced through my perception and my thinking around life, and then I'm projecting onto the world what I think it should be, and then seeing it back to myself, and then kind of confirming to myself that what I believe to be true is true. But this is real. So it's like, to use an example, because I play in the world of these questions all the time. I was looking for, where in my life does it look real? Where in my life does something look like it's actually true and not just based on thinking? And the word pressure come up. Because, I really do have to earn money. I really do have to support my 3 kids and my wife. I really do have to pay the bills and the rent, etc. And if I don't, because I'm not feeling good, or I don't have, perform at my best, or I don't create opportunity, or I don't, have inspiring conversations that, intrigue someone to want to take the conversation further and become a client, or a course doesn't sell, or whatever. If I don't do all of that, then I really don't make the money, and then I really can't pay the bills, and then things actually happen, like I lose the house, or, me and Jenna argue, or Max can't play football because I can't afford to pay the monthly fees, or Rosie can't do gymnastics, or, it really is real. I know it's my thinking, but no, this is really real. And it's just interesting because another question that comes up if you're experiencing something like that is you then have to go, firstly, obviously, is it true? Is that true? Does the pressure really come from all of those things? Or does it come from my thinking? Well, of course it comes from my thinking. Because none of what I've just said to you has even happened. So therefore, I'm just imagining how I think I would feel if those things actually happened, and if I actually allowed myself to allow those things to happen. So already it's an imagined creation, and then I'm thinking about it and then feeling the emotions of my thinking. So it's not true because it isn't real, because none of what I've said has happened, and I do have my house and I do have money and I do pay my bills. So the first thing is it true? No, obviously not. Second thing is it useful? Is it useful? Is it really useful to walk around with the weight of the world on my shoulders, feeling this pressure created by me? Does that make me feel motivated, energized, inspired, creative? Does that make me see more opportunity, feel more kind of abundance and endless possibility? Or does it make me feel like I'm drowning? Does it make me feel like, the world is full of kind of scarcity, and money's hard to come by, and clients don't exist, and I'm struggling to keep my head above water? or all the pressure that if, I can't afford to have a day off, or I can't have a week off because if I don't work, then this happens. You see where I'm going with this? I'm using kind of past experiences and experience of others and kind of, to create create my point. But you'll see that this is universal. It doesn't have to just be this. It shows up in any number of places in our life. And that is all a very good example of walking around with all of this pressure. How do I reduce pressure? How do I deal with stress? Do you know how you reduce pressure? Don't put the pressure on in the first place. Do you know how you reduce stress? You can go out and manipulate your outside world if you want, and sometimes that's good, but don't put the stress on in the first place. Once you truly start to see that your thinking is creating your emotions, which is therefore impacting the actions that you are or aren't taking, it no longer seems as good an idea to keep thinking those thoughts. It no longer really makes sense to keep having those thoughts that keep knocking you off, making you fall off the wagon or making you crash and burn, or, some people are so burnt out on their thinking that they get to the weekend and I've had clients do this. They use alcohol and stuff to shut their mind up, because that's their escape from their thinking. Do you know what a better escape from their thinking would be? Think less. Once you truly see that it isn't really your life that's causing you to burn out, it is the speed at which you're thinking, it starts to become obvious that maybe that's the solution right now. And this is where things like meditation and stuff like that come in, or going for walks, but actually once you understand this, once this really settles in for you, you realize that actually people confuse the state of meditation with the act of meditation. You can feel in a meditative state throughout your entire day. Once you understand this. Now that may or may not be a heavy conversation. That may feel, some people are like, what the fuck? Maybe. Some people are like, yeah, I know all of this. This is amazing, a great reminder. Others right now might be kind of somewhere in between, where you feel like on some level this is true, but on another level you feel like you need to digest it, But one thing I'd say is if you fall anywhere in any of those categories, actually, don't try and figure this out. Because there's your thinking again. People like me, possibly people like you, we overuse thinking, and thinking isn't as reliable as we like to think it is. Don't try and figure this out. Just listen without listening. Feel for the emotion, feel for the part of you that feels like this is probably common sense, and you might even feel a little bit like a dick because you think, well, I should know this anyway. It may feel really obvious to you, or it might not. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's enough for today. Again, if you're 5 episodes in, then the feedback's been great already. The reviews have been fantastic. If you can leave a review, that'd be awesome. Again, because if no one's listening, then no one's really feeling the impact or the transformation of this conversation. And I say conversation because it isn't me that's creating the transformation in the people that are listening. It's I'm just pointing where to look. We each have areas of darkness that we can't see for ourselves. I just kind of shine the light in different places, and often you'll find things there, and you'll see them for yourself. And when you see it for yourself, it's a lot more powerful than it goes from information to actually understanding. It goes from just information to transformation once you really see it for yourself. Anyway, so if you're enjoying this and you're feeling you're seeing your life change, and you may even be seeing things change almost without you even meaning to, or without much effort at all, which is always interesting, just as a result of a new understanding, a new insight, seeing things slightly differently, fresh perspective, fresh thinking. If that's happening, please leave a review, because unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, humans do tend to follow others. So if they see reviews, then they think that this podcast is probably worth their time. And if you think it is worth their time, then please leave a review. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you being here. So anyway, I'll speak to you next time. Thanks again. Have a good one.